Hi everyone, it's Don, and I hope you're having a fantastic week. Recently, I was talking with somebody, and they described to me something that happened recently on one of their shore excursions on a cruise, and it brought back memories of things that I've come across as well. And just the last video I talked about, it's all in the details, right? It's all in the details for clients and passengers, but guess what? It's also in the details for the cruise line too, and I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about right after this. So, for anyone who's worked on a cruise line or worked behind the scenes, you know that a cruise line runs like a well oiled machine. From embarkation, getting your luggage on board, restocking everything on this cruise ship for another 7 days, hundreds of thousands of tons of food and things getting on and off the ship, and up to your cabin, your luggage, all the different things, cleaning, changing linens, all the stuff that gets done. It's like a well-oiled machine. And there's procedures in place to help make that as efficient as possible. And they're always coming up with new ideas to try and make things more efficient. One of those things is, let's say you're going on a shore excursion. And what normally happens is you have an area to muster. So, for instance, if you're on a tender and you're going to a shore excursion where you have to tender off the ship, where you take one of the little boats to the port, normally what happens is you'll meet in an area like the theater or the gym or one of the restaurants, and they'll give you a code. It'll be blue 1, blue 2, blue 3, depending on what excursion you're on. Then the cruise personnel know exactly what cruise you're on, what time your cruise is, and they start sending people to the tenders according to the time that you need to be off first. So if you're not if you're on a shore excursion, but it's not till 10 o'clock and there's people who need to be on the 9 o'clock shore excursion, well, they're going to get priority over the 10 o'clock people to get onto the tenders and into port. Well, apparently, and I've had this happen before, somebody decided that instead of calling by numbers, they were just going to say, okay, everybody line up at the door. And so all of a sudden, you had hundreds of people standing up in the theater and moving to the main door. And then they started sending people off to the tenders where you'd wait in line again. You scan your card to get off the ship. You get onto the tender, you finally get loaded, you're brought to the shore, and then you head to your shore excursion. Except by the time all this happened, because a couple tenders left before, there was no organizational happening about times and meeting up with shore excursion. Some people arrived at the shore excursion minutes after it had already left. So they missed their shore excursion. And they talked to the people there, and the people there said, it's all right. Well, there's one in another 3 hours if you want to take that one. So people found something to do. They headed off to do what they needed to do. They hung around for it, ended up like standing around for like an hour waiting for it to happen. And then the time came for the next shore excursion, the same itinerary. And of course, the people who had times for that all showed up. And there was no more room left on that shore excursion. So the people missed it completely. So basically, it was a wasted day because somebody in the cruise line decided that instead of following the procedure and calling out people one at a time into the proper times and designations that you need to go to make sure you get to those shore excursions, they decide line everybody up. I'm sure it'll be fine. Well, it wasn't fine, and people missed their shore excursions. They got refunded their shore excursions, but it was a wasted day. That's the big point. You're basically sticking around and hanging around doing nothing, waiting to get on that trip, and it never does happen. So it can be very, very frustrating. I've had things like that happen numerous times where somebody, for instance, at dining, decided not to make sure that the people were supposed to be there at that time. So the 7 o'clock dining, uh, we show up, there are all these people, and there's people at our tables. Well, they're scheduled for the 9 o'clock dining. Why are they at our table at 7 o'clock? Because somebody never checked. And you have to scan. But sometimes they just go so quickly, they scan and just go ahead. They don't even actually look to see if this person's supposed to be there on time or not. So, yeah, if you don't follow procedures, it can mess things up. And that goes for the cruise line staff as well. It's no, there's procedures in place where cruise lines practice and practice and practice and practice to make sure things happen in a smooth, orderly way. And if you come across somebody who cuts corners, make sure to find out who that person was and tell the people at the desks and let the supervisors know as well. Because if nobody says anything, then that person will keep doing that. And it's just cutting corners, it's being lazy, and it can ruin your whole day. So, just a little story, a little tip of procedures that should happen orderly and don't necessarily do. Well, I hope you're all going to have a fantastic weekend this weekend. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs? You want to see me on the Queen Mary 2 starting next weekend? Stick around and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.